Well, good morning, folks. This is going to be a fantastic Everyday Empowerment Institute podcast because we're going to go deeper today. I'm talking to Neerja Ahuja from Ayurveda Awareness, and we're in the same boat here, empowerment of people. Neerja, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of our Everyday Empowerment Institute podcast.
Thank you very much for having me there.
Neerja, you and I have known each other I would think 4, 5, 6 years at least, because I went and did treatments with you and we talked about marketing and your business and talked about how do we grow your business way back then. So I'm so interested to hear your journey, what's been going on, because I know you've been super, super active, but we're in the same business when we're talking about empowering human beings to realize their full potential. So let's, in the first instance, talk about the Neerja Ahuja story. How did you get to where you are, to where here we are in Perth, you establishing Ayurveda? I mispronounced things left, right and centre here, but tell me the Neerja Ahuja story.
Okay. All right. So I immigrated from India. We came here as skilled migrants, and I was happily doing my database programming. I got my background I've got my master's in statistics and computer programming.
Wow.
That was my original thing. And that is what I thought I'm going to be doing. But then after 2 children, I took some time off and started learning this science of life called Ayurveda. And even then I thought it is more about me and my family's health and well-being. But I got hooked. So I never went back to programming. After taking time off with the second child especially, and I realized that I just love it. And not that I didn't love programming, I found it a very creative process, but this was an opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. Yeah. And it also practically did give me flexibility to work around children, which was my priority, which was my balance as well. Programming can be very time consuming and things change very fast. And this gave me flexibility as well as it gave me purpose to my life.
Fantastic. And you already talked about it here, the science of life, the science of life. So let's just talk a little bit about Ayurveda, because as you know, we're in the business empowerment, giving people power to realize their full potential. And Ayurveda, I knew little or nothing about it. I'd heard of Deepak Chopra talking about it, of course, Ayurveda. But for the purpose of the listener, the viewer, understanding Ayurveda, in a nutshell, if it's at all possible, I know it's been around for 5 or 10 or more thousand years. So tell us about Ayurveda and why is it different than any other type of either science of life or medicine or preventative medicine?
Okay. Ayurveda is said to be 40,000-year-old science.
Whoa, 40,000.
And the written texts are said to be around 6,000 years old. So it is definitely ancient. And it's interesting that even though it is ancient, but it is not outdated. It is still very relevant in keeping us healthy. And it's probably mother of all the other health systems around the world. In fact, I'm right now running a course in nutrition from Ayurvedic perspective, and there are a few practitioners in that, and one of the girls who was practicing something modern, which I really can't remember the name right now if I say that, but she was talking to her teacher, and because she was finding this a very juicy subject, being a nutritionist, and she said that the teacher has informed that the basics of what they are doing has come mainly from Ayurvedic principles.
Wow.
So it is something that has influenced, or it has given the basis for a lot of medical systems. And it is still relevant. So I find it very fascinating. And it comes from the basis that we all have infinite potential. But we are getting stopped by a very loose term, if I say toxins, and they could be physical toxins or they can be mental emotional toxins. So it could be influenced by diet, by lifestyle, by emotions, by the environment we are living, or a combination of all of that. And if I want to really fulfill my own potential, I need to work on removing those imbalances or toxins. And when I do that, what flows is something which is way powerful and which is way more connected with, if I can use the word, my higher self and my purpose. And
Yes.
it is an empowered way of living, because Ayurveda comes with the premise that we all have infinite potential. It's just that we don't know how to access that potential. And I
Well,
guess you are doing some of those things as
well,
well.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, because there's a strong relationship clearly between what you do and what we do. Obviously, we're dealing with human beings. The whole
Yes.
concept of how do human beings optimize potential in this existence between birth and death. And of course, so much of traditional medicine, as in Western medicine, is at the physical level. And in fact, whether it be Ayurveda or yoga, and I'll come back to the linkage between Ayurveda and yoga, but knowing that we're physical, there's levels: physical, mental, emotional, and then
spiritual.
energetic,
Yes.
And what you're doing in Ayurveda is not just at the physical level, but as you say, you start looking at mental, emotional, energetic, and energy centers. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. And of course, I know in Ayurvedic medicine, there are different, not personality types, but different energy types. So different people manage energy, and therefore the foods and the herbs and so on. So you put me on different herbs. I was taking all these herbs in tea. And at the same time, all the fantastic things you were doing with steam and, meditation, and certainly energetically, I mean, I've spent the last 2 years in particular immersing myself in Sadhguru. And of course, Sadhguru is just one of the Indian yogics, but obviously very, prevalent in Western society. So the whole concept of energetics and energy, and as you say, unlocking the blockages and the toxins. So let's just talk a bit about some of the treatments, and maybe without giving people's names away, or even you can talk about me, but some case studies of people you've worked with, how they came to you and what you did using Ayurvedic medicine to either unblock them or empower them or transform their life. So maybe that would help, some case studies.
Look, I have been very privileged to be in that space where I get to see the transformation in front of my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when you start looking, it is pretty simple. When I want to change things, like I said, the imbalances can be coming from diet, from lifestyle, from emotions, from the environment. So we need to look at, when we want to change things and bring that space, we still call it health, because in English we don't have the word which is what we call as the word in Sanskrit, which is the language of Ayurveda, is called swasthya. And swasthya is made up of two words, swa and stha, means established in self. So when I am established in self, is I know me, who I am, I know my challenges, I know my strengths, I know my purpose, and I'm able to fulfill on all of that. Now, health is a much weaker word in that sense. Whereas being established in self, that means I'm looking after that my physical body is healthy, my mind is anchored at the place that supports life. And I know what gives me that feels like I've lived my life. I am fulfilling my purpose. I know what is my purpose and I'm able to fulfill that. So that means my mind is anchored, my body is healthy. Right? And when we are working on removing those imbalances that are coming in the way, because it is typically imbalances that are coming in the way, and they can be at many levels. So we need to work at many levels. We have to know at the level of logic, for example, which is what modern word is about. Logically, I need to understand. But if you have been on any health and well-being journey, you know, understanding is just one part. Understanding doesn't mean I am able to follow what I know I should do. You know, for example, everybody knows how to have a loving relationship. We all need to be respectful and saying right things and being loving, doing loving things, but that doesn't happen. I mean, look at the rate of separations and divorces in the Western world. We know what to do, but we are not able to follow it. So logic is one level, but also we have to work on clearing memories, right?
Really? Clearing
Because,
memories. Wow.
yeah, I mean, think of that. If I have memories from any time, say, let me go look at personal things that women are like that or men are like that. If that's my memory because I've seen somehow or created in this lifetime that this is how men are or women are, it is bound to come. Unless I work on it, it will come in my next relationship as well.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
So I may know things what I need to do, but when that at some moments I have no control, I've forgotten, and I go with whatever emotion takes over. And probably somewhere in the head, I'm still saying, no, this is not going to work. I'm going to pay for it. But at that time, there is no stopping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So logic is one, memories is one, feelings is another one, and energies, as you were saying. So we have to work at all those levels as a holistic being.
Yes.
And for that, we use the tools that Ayurveda has given. So, for example, changing simple diets is one of the ways. Because we talk about, in terms of nutrition, there are foods that bring balance and equanimity and peace and contentment. There are foods that bring agitation, and there are foods that bring lethargy. In fact, modern science is talking about food and mood. Food psychiatry is an upcoming field. But Ayurveda has always said that it is most important to look at what is this food doing to my mind. Because if my mind is anchored at the right place, I will make a lot of right decisions, in quotes. But when my mind is, when mind is frazzled, I may make decisions which I will regret probably later on. I mean, I'm sure by this age, my age or your age, many of us have made the decisions which we knew, oh, if I wasn't so upset or angry or busy or whatever, I would not have done this. Right? So we all know about those things. So keeping my mind at the right place or anchored at a place which supports my life is a key thing if I want to have an experience of life that I can say it has been a good life.
Great. There's so much you've said there. Food and mood. Mind being anchored from a place of stillness. I mean, literally, what I'll do is just briefly share a couple of things from what we're doing at Everyday Empowerment Institute, where some of our tools that we work with, we talk about whole of person, whole of business development. You made the point there around memory, and people associate or identify with what they know. So, you know, as you say, my memory, I come from a poor family, or all my family are very unhealthy, or we've always struggled. They identify what they know, whereas there's this whole other component. There's a whole lot they don't even know. They don't even know.
Yes.
Yet they need to. So Sadhguru often talks about you need to identify with. There's a whole lot I still don't even know that I need to explore. Versus, oh, I've got a PhD in sports science, or I'm a lawyer. I don't need to know anymore. And of course, that immediately constricts or narrows your view. But what I wanted to show you was our key model we call the business growth Parthenon. We say that the vision of a business, just like your business, Ayurveda Awareness, it started in your inner world. It started in your mind. And ideally, it came from a place of stillness, not from a place of upset or agitation. Because as you say, you start making decisions about life from a place of upset and agitation. Often you'll regret it because you've not come from this place of stillness. So just on that, talk about food and mood. Just literally yesterday, I was in a meeting and my business colleague said, Leigh, can you pop by and get some food at the coffee shop? So some quiches and maybe some muffins. And I was a bit hungry. The meeting was at 11, so we got some muffins, and there we were having some muffins and some the escargot. So really, at the end of the day, a ton of sugar and carbohydrate. Well, as things were talking, I'm falling asleep. So there we were talking about strategy and future, and I'm going, oh my God, I can barely stay awake. So let's talk about certain foods that, as you say, food and mood for a second. What are some of the foods that you recommend to people that help with alertness and stillness and, you know, maximizing empowerment, versus what are some of the foods that either agitate or disempower? What advice would you give people around that?
Look, I think if we sit in our stillness, most of us do know about things, these things. I can lead a whole classroom or can talk about this for hours, but that is not what we are going to do. But as a big picture thing, typically the foods that have come from farm will be better for us than foods that have come from a factory.
Oh, food from farm versus food from factory.
Yes.
I love the alliteration there as well.
Yeah.
Food from farm, food from factory. Yeah.
And even though we know in today's world, food from the farm is also not necessarily always the best. So we still need to go further down the lane. And there have been certain foods that have been considered good, you know, healthy foods. And they are typically simple, from the farm. I would say in today's word, organic or not chemical, no chemicals in them or least chemicals in them. And not only that, but also foods, how they are cooked and prepared and served also would make a difference. Because again, when you start thinking about, there would be times that you would have known somebody has cooked the food very lovingly and it is pretty simple food and you feel so good after that. Or if you were angry and upset and stressed and getting late from work and come home and start cooking and food gets burnt. So we can transfer our emotions in that as well. So, you know, how we cook, what we eat, how we serve, all will make a difference.
Wow.
In that.
So food and mood, so not only is food shaping your mood, but you're saying your mood can shape your food.
Definitely. I mean, you think about it. Have you had that experience where food was cooked with, you know, while you were angry or whoever was cooking was angry and upset and it just didn't feel energetically right?
I certainly remember times I've cooked barbecue and I've been distracted and I'm talking to someone else on the phone and then I burn the meat.
Yeah.
And then I got burnt because my people said, "What the hell? You've just burnt a very good steak." But again, coming back to that, that's again coming back to meat versus non-meat. Certainly, I've gone further and further away in the last 2 years from cooking steaks. In fact, I probably have only had one steak in the last two, pretty much almost never now. I'm literally, it's some fish and some chicken, and way more plant-based foods than ever before. And as you say, even yesterday, the muffins, the food from the factory, and the flour, another F, I was zonked. Now I remember some of those fantastic treatments you gave me, and as you said, I'm somewhere between meditating, and then you said I'm jumping around all over the place while I'm half asleep. What is all of that when you're on the table and the treatments are happening and you're twitching? What is happening energetically in that situation?
Okay, so I get to see that in people, and let me set up the context for the treatments. So when we are working on the logic is one thing, but memories and feelings and energies, which we are storing, the more sensible we are, the less we say aloud, what am I feeling? I may be very angry or upset, or I may be frustrated with somebody, but if I'm mature enough, I'm not going to say to them, right? I'm not, it's considered very good that nobody gets to know how I'm feeling. But what happens is I cannot lie to my body. There are chemical changes. There is a biochemistry that changes. The biochemistry of joy is different from biochemistry of anger and frustration.
Yeah.
And we know, as a health practitioner, we know, and we talk about that, say, one bout of anger and frustration or irritation is a subtle form of anger, will bring chemical changes that it may take about 3 months to get rid of.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you think of average human beings, how many times we get angry, upset, sad, resentful, all those kind of emotions. So we are storing them in our bodies. Because where are they going?
It's the autonomic nervous system. It's fight or flight. It's all of those things going on. As you say, all those neurotransmitters, the adrenaline, the noradrenaline, the cortisol, all of those. The
every cell of our
soup.
body.
Yeah.
Every cell of our body is storing those chemicals, and there is a physical effect of that as well.
Yeah.
So when we are doing treatments, which are called in Ayurveda, they're called panchakarma treatments. I call them as spring cleaning of body and mind.
Spring cleaning of the body and mind. Beautiful. So when I was twitching around on the table there, you're spring cleaning the energetics and the chemicals. I certainly always remember feeling great afterwards in the day and 2 and 3 days afterwards. The after effect was just incredible.
Yeah. So one-off can be done as stress relief, or we have like stress buster kind of programs.
Yes.
But if I really want to spring clean, it's like home cleaning that we work on. We have to spend a bit of time. And I like to give that kind of example for my patients as well, or my clients, that if I want a clean house, I do some things on a daily basis. Some things I may do just once a week.
Yes.
Some things I may do just maybe once a month. But then I still need to do once a year or once in 6 months, something more, and all have their place in life to keep the house clean.
Beautiful. So just on that, let's talk about, because we talk about everyday empowerment, let's talk about whether it be what you personally do on a daily basis and or what you recommend. So let's just, for the start of it, obviously things, whether it be meditation, stillness, exercise. Let's go through a day in the life of Neerja Ahuja. In terms of, let's assume she's somewhere near living a living testament. She's actually practicing what she preaches. So what time do you start your day? What time do you wake up?
I wake up, try to wake up before sunrise or just around. So
and
depends.
What's the reason for that?
Summer it could be 4:35.
Wow.
and actually try to do winter also around same time. And I like to start and end my day with some kind of affirmations and my gratitude. So, I have got this amazing life. And, wherever you are, okay, it may not look perfect for somebody else externally, but I'm grateful for what I have, because there is no manual and there is no contract that we come up with that I will get certain things.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing to learn to be grateful. So
Yes.
that is, I like to start my day and finish my day with either writing. Nighttime I typically write, but morning I just say. And I have my meditation and pranayam. Pranayam is breathing exercise and meditation and chanting practice. I have my physical exercise. Yoga is there. Walking happens in the day sometime, not necessarily in the morning, because after what I do, then it is time to do the things that one needs to do around home and around work.
Yes.
But I am conscious about what kind of foods I'm cooking as well and eating, so that mind is remaining as anchored. I mean, of course, there's always place for improvement for everybody.
Yes.
And like, we are not there, at least I'm not there where I've realized my full potential. There are more things that can come, and I do. So these are some of the things I do daily, but I also do my weekly. I have plenty of oil massages that I do. Self massage is something that I do recommend to my clients, and that warm oil on the body works on nourishing the nervous system. And
what is that? Warm oil works on the what system?
Nervous system.
Oh, the nervous system. Yes.
So it really works in keeping us, the nervous system, nourished. And if we look around, life is so busy for everybody. Stress is everybody's problem. And there are very simple strategies that we can use. Put oil on the body, a warm oil before bath or shower, and eat warm and moist foods. Not dried foods, not cold foods. If you are stressed, eating warm and moist foods helps nourish the body and the nervous system, and it helps keep the mind then more stable. So these are the kind of things I teach everybody, I practice. There are herbs that I know I can take, which are, as a practitioner, I know so many herbs and I can't really take all of them. So some of them are which are there throughout, every day, because I know they are going to work. And then some I rotate. So some of the typical herbs that I also take is which are good for your digestive system. And I want to make sure that the digestion is working better, because again, an Ayurvedic quote is, digestion is the key to health or disease. When you look around, so many people, of course, we don't keep talking about those things, but that can be the starting point of other health issues as well. So work on that. And I love my work. I love what I do. That is another way to keep ourselves healthy, because emotionally I'm loving what I'm doing, or how I'm spending my time. That is there. So these are some of the things I can think of straight away.
Brilliant. So as you say, so much of inner world health and well-being starts with gratitude.
Definitely.
What am I grateful for, as distinct from what am I ungrateful for? Because straight away the energetics that you create out of gratitude, which is of course somewhere in and around love and joy and bliss, versus I don't have this and I don't have that, which of course people we say everyday empowerment, don't wish too hard for what you don't want, because you're putting so much energy into what you don't want, you keep recreating and manifesting what you don't want versus,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at what is major problem that we all have, I have this and I want this. There's a gap. And when you think about it in the stillness, who is the person? Is there a person that you know who has got everything that they want, every situation that they want, everybody, all the persons that, you know, just that kind of life? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's not how human beings are supposed to be or are living. I don't know a single person who has got only perfect circumstances, perfect people, perfect situations, perfect work, everything like that. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So if that is how we are, I better learn how to deal with those places where there is a gap.
Yes. And if you focus on the gap, you're going to keep recreating the gap, as distinct from what have I got that I'm really happy with? My health, my family, my clients, my career, you know, my books that I have, whatever, all the things you go, that now I'm going to recreate from that place. What am I doing in terms of energy field? Now, again, I know you talk about infinite potential. I know Deepak Chopra often talks about the universal energy field, or the field of infinite possibilities. So we're talking about the world of the invisible, which again, coming back to Ayurveda, it's that whole world of the invisible, not the least of the invisible inner world with the lymphatic system and the biochemistry internally, but the energy field called the universe, which I gather
the
somewhere
intangible
in
one,
40,000
the intangible one.
Tell us about that. Tell us how do you teach that, or how do you live that, or what's your understanding of that yourself?
Okay. Well, I find that since I've been learning and working with Ayurveda, it has given me a lot of insights, because Ayurveda is a health science, but it talks about different aspects, for example, that we live. We have our body, our mind, our senses, and as a medical system, it talks about our soul, whatever word we want to use, higher self or whatever. There is something which has got the ownership. For example, and it is visible even in our day-to-day life. I can say my stomach is paining. So there is then somebody who owns this stomach. Or when I say my mind is frazzled, somebody is owner of that mind, right? So whatever we want to call it, and for the sake of using one word, if I say soul, then we exist at all those levels. And we are all unique. We bring that a body which is only mine and mine only. So there is subjectivity. Mind that is subjectively mine. It is uniquely mine. It is not same as yours or his or her or anybody else's. Not like my parents, not like my child. It's mine. My body, my mind, my spirit, my tendencies. So it is important to understand who am I, right? And if I want to bring back connecting to probably the people who would be listening to, if I'm talking about, say, workplace, I want to know who am I, what are my strengths, what are my tendencies, how do I operate? I also need to learn about human nature. Who are the people? You know, how do they work? What is the design of a human being? Because I'm in a business situation, I'm working with people, or any situation at home also I'm working. I'm not living alone. I'm working with people. So it might be a good idea to understand human nature. And then if I'm talking about workplace, then I need to clearly understand what is the work, right? But even Stanford University, I remember reading about it. They said what the work is only about 18%, right? Rest is all human. So understanding who am I and who are they who are part of this community.
Yeah.
where I'm operating on. It's very important. So
Yeah.
I find Ayurveda gives us clue. In fact, it's the whole understanding of what we call as mind-body type.
Yes,
And
I drift into that because what are those at least 3 key mind-body types? And I remember, what was I? Do you remember?
Yeah, you have plenty of fire in you. And fire can be fire in the belly, not just fire in not fire as fire, but fire transforms things. Fire brings passion. Fire brings leadership. Fire brings when it is in balance, it brings nice glow and warmth. Though when it is out of balance, it can burn. So it can bring acidity.
Yes.
It can bring skin issues where skin becomes reddish tinge, and we can say fiery skin. People use that in terminology.
Yeah.
So fire is one kind of attribute that we look at, or we talk about everything is made up of functional intelligence, can be fiery kind, or there are water and earth kind, which will be earth brings weight, earth brings stability, earth brings earthy qualities. Earth can bring out of balance, it can bring weight issues, obesity. It can bring slowness. But it can also bring consistency, and how it can give those kind of attributes a way of life.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're
and
talking
it is
about
so
the elements:
scientific.
earth, fire,
Space,
water.
air, fire, water, earth.
It's a combination of those elements.
Yes, and that gives the functional intelligence of how they operate in the body, or how they operate in the whole universe, really. And then how they give us the tendencies, how as a practitioner, for example, I can look at a person, look at their physical features and know what is more prominent in them. Is it space and air? Or is it fire, or is it water and earth? And that gives me, by the time they come and sit in front of me, I know what is going to be their mental and emotional tendencies. I've already seen their physical being, but I also know what are their mental emotional tendencies, and what kind of tendencies, or what kind of imbalances they may have. So a fire person, for example, because I know you, fire, if they were innately fiery person, and imagine it's summertime, midday, and they're eating a hot curry, it is natural that they will then have a tendency, small things happen and they will kind of burst into anger, or there will be frustration coming. Or like you were saying, you ate the earth food, a lot of carbohydrate, earthy kind of food, and you started feeling sleepy. So it's very easy to guess as a science. It's not a guesswork, actually. It is a science which explains how to understand what is, who is this person and how they are going to behave. Tendencies. I won't say that there are no exceptions, or people can consciously choose to do different things.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how we get to see, and I hear that so many times. I will tell them something that is, or ask them if they haven't said, do you experience this, or do you do this? And they think it's magic, that how did I know? They haven't told me anything. But if you know this science, or if you learn how to do this, it's so visible, it's so obvious.
Yeah. Well, if you do anything for 40,000 years or even 6,000 years, they say, what's science? Science is just observing, the rules. So like, I take this pen, if I let it go each time, I do it 10 times, there's a pattern. So you start to observe patterns in
gravity,
human existence. Person eats A and gets that result. A person is overweight, or you see 100 people are overweight and go, gee, there's some recurring patterns here, not only in their physical activity, but as they with in terms of their energy. That's what science is. You've used the word conscious, and we talk about being conscious everyday empowerment versus conscious everyday disempowerment. That is to say, unconscious. I'm eating this stuff and I'm doing these things. I'm not even awake to that's what it's doing to me, versus hang on, I now know that by meditation and the treatments and the gratitude and the different foods, like certainly when you said a curry at lunchtime, I can guarantee you I would never, just through my own, I'd never have curry. Again, at lunchtime, one of my people said, have a pasta at lunchtime. I would never eat pasta at lunchtime because, again, I know I'd be tired. I have my tuna on a rye vita with some tomato and cheese, and I'm pretty much, that doesn't put me to sleep in the afternoon. So as you say, knowing yourself and being willing to look at yourself. So just a couple of things, Neerja. One, you have a lot of your information now, and since we met, you've got online courses there. So if people wanted to get hold of you, what are some of the things they could do? How do they get access to you? And what are some of the courses you have online? In fact, what I might do is just go to your website, tell people about it, and I'll dig up your website.
Okay. So I am the closest one that I have got is starting 4th of October. Tuesday, we have got a 10-week course about changing mindset for healthy and enriched life. So we are looking at different techniques, and it's not theoretical techniques. People get their homework so that they practice that technique and come back and share, because it is about accountability and community that supports. And so if you go into live workshops,
go to live workshops, yeah. Diet and lifestyle, mind, body, spirit, upcoming events. Yeah.
So we have got workshops coming, this is independent as well as part of our course on self-care with Ayurveda. So, and I'm currently about to finish this Foods for Peace and Wellness. And then we run our workshops. This Creating a Mindset for Healthy and Enriched Life is starting soon. It is part of Self-Care with Ayurveda. I haven't said that I am also a teacher or I've got certification in human values. So we talk about self-leadership kind of things, which is something that you do, I know, through empowerment things. But I have run courses around that, and I will be piloting next year, combining 101 as well as course for where we look at self-leadership through simple things like diet, lifestyle, as well as looking at handling negativity. And if people want, we can also do include some treatments in that. So spring cleaning kind of treatments, so that we feel that we can turn around and get physical health as well as mind-body health.
Fantastic.
I also run this Understanding Mind-Body Type Masterclass as a one-off 3-hour where we talk and look at what is my mind-body type. We not only explain, but people look at what is their mind-body type and what does it mean in terms of how to use that at home, how to use that knowledge for their workplace, how to use that knowledge for their exercise. For example, again, going back to the fiery person, for them, a good exercise will be going into the water kind of thing. The water polo will be good for them.
Well, I'm down the beach every day swimming. That's helps me stay sane.
Cool down as well. They don't get overheated, but they would not be the right people to go kickboxing or a lot of, because we don't want to bring unnecessary heat in the body. We need to do some cooling thing to stay in balance for somebody who's already fiery. So those are the kind of things that I teach, and people can also come for one-on-one consultations where we of course, as a 101, we look at specifically what do they need to do for their life, their diet, their health, their well-being. So people can come for learning through the courses online, or they can come for consultations, or they can come for bodywork treatments to get rid of those imbalances and toxins that we do.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, the website's all there. The website's looking fantastic, by the way. So well done with that. So Neerja, I'm aware of time here. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think people should be aware of?
I think you have been quite thorough, and yeah, so I can't think straight away if there is anything else, because you can go to any extent. It is so much there, but I think we have covered quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. What are you talking about? I'm just making some notes. Food and mood, the mind being anchored, working at the many levels, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the energetic. You're talking about the lymphatic system, the autonomic nervous system, the fight or flight response. You're talking about health and well-being, health and the science of life is so important. And the science of life isn't just, I get sick, okay, go to the gym or take medication. It's I like that, just as we do a holistic approach. We talk about whole of person, whole of business, that the business won't grow unless the person looks at themselves holistically. And we were literally talking yesterday in our meeting that a person we know, we said that person needs to turn their eyeballs inward and take a look at themselves. I mean, and this is again something I've learned via yourself and the Sadhguru, is I didn't realize that, they talk about the two eyes we have here look outwards at the external physical world, but you guys have been talking about the third eye, which I always thought was looking at the universe. But what I really do, no, we want you looking at the universe within.
Yes.
Third eye going, we want you looking back inside and go, what is going on inside you? And now let's work so that inside you is gratitude, stillness, because you're only going to make good decisions from that place of stillness. And this person we're talking about saying he needs to take that third eye and stop just looking at the external world, go inside and go, mate, calm down, because he literally says, this particular fellow, it talks about his internal world. I won't even say what he says because it would give away his identity. But we say he needs to calm down and stop some of the inner dialogue, talk about lack of gratitude. It's everything he doesn't have, everything that's going wrong with his life. And literally I went to the cardiologist yesterday because I wanted to make sure my heart and everything is okay before I do a solo swim to Rottnest. We're doing a swim we call Swim for Empowerment, and yes. I'm using it to raise awareness for Youth Futures and Meetings for Minds, a group that is involved in mental health and well-being, and also motor muscular dystrophy, because every second person in my family has had a version of muscular dystrophy. But a woman at the time, her credit card wouldn't work when she was paying the doctor's bill. And there she was, she's going, why is life so difficult? Why is this so hard to do? And just going, she's not even conscious of the language. Life is going to be difficult and hard if you keep saying life is difficult and hard, and responding in a very visceral way rather than, okay, the card's not working, so we'll use another card or we'll try again. But her mind is not anchored and not conscious. So I thought there is just a little microcosm of a human being creating her own suffering.
Yes,
as is my friend, not looking inside and taking responsibility for the inner world, which again is part of everything you do. So, what's your response to what I've just said then?
Exactly. I know exactly. And that's what we teach in our courses. That's what we work with 101, because 101 gives opportunity to work exactly on that person, and it giving a complete service. We can teach, but we can also work with people, taking them through diet, lifestyle, herbs, treatments, bodywork treatments, and removing those toxins, because they are, there is a universal inner instrument that we all have, and that is that is universal, and that is all full of potential. And that's part of what I use the word is divinity within, right? Rest all is our imbalances, our toxins, so to speak. And because they are external to who I am, it is possible from Ayurvedic perspective to remove that. So the example that you are giving, this person is not in balance, obviously. There is stored something. It is not just the credit card, but the whole baggage that is there that shows up when the credit card is not working, right? It is not just that credit card. So we need to work at removing. If she was my client, what I would suggest is do some bodywork treatments where instead of straight away talking about logically telling how wrong it is, or something can be done, because sometimes we know logically what needs to happen, but I have no control over what's going on. So I would suggest maybe some herbs, maybe some diet changes, maybe some treatments, so that we get rid of that by the time, this person may be just lying on the table and experiencing things that when she gets up from the table feeling different, the kind of experience you have experienced.
Transformation, as you say, yeah.
And once they are in a little bit more balance, that's when we can also talk about logic things. But then we still need to work on the feelings and the energies and the memories of how I deal with life. Pavlovian experiments have been done on dogs, but we do behave like that. People can trigger us. Situations can trigger us, right? So if I need to break that pattern, I need to be aware of, or I need to reach a certain level of stillness where I can see it, not just others see it and say, oh, he's like this or she's like that. So doing those things, I need to go beyond logic. And so I find that the bodywork treatments and diet and lifestyle and herbs, all those really are helpful, because we are touching that intangible through the tangible by changing my foods. Giving you the example of the person with too much fire eating fiery kind of food, so it will bring up anger and frustration even more. So if I understand that, I can do the opposite way to touch that anger and frustration and remove that which is pre-existing. I need to look and take foods which will bring maybe cooling effect, maybe soothing effect, maybe bring mind into a calmer place. So those are the kind of foods that I will recommend. Those are the kinds herbs I'll recommend. Those are the kind of exercises I will recommend. Those are the kind of treatments I will do. So we can give a full, it's like a turnkey project that we can do from one end to another, and we can teach them so that they understand why and what is going on, because that ultimately also brings better compliance.
Yeah.
If I understand why hot food is not good for me, I can have it more in winter rather than in summer. If you know clearly, I say, if I have told you, you understand the logic, and then you experience in your body, then next time you will be more careful.
Yes. Well, and you're talking about holistic. I keep thinking you are what you eat. And as you say, depending on your body type and your energy, what you eat is going to either help you or it's actually going to disempower you.
Definitely.
Neerja, there's so much to cover. If people want to find out more, they can touch base with you via your website. We'll put the link in below when we publish this. And I look forward to getting and seeing you again very soon. And we'll look to do something together also in terms of Ayurveda and Everyday Empowerment Institute, because there's such a great synergy there.
Yes, there is definitely synergy. I would love to work with you.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Neerja.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.